How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just want to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dark from last night, which was July 19th, 2022. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was Jorah Joel versus Luke Sampson. That was a great match. But the ending to it, Jorah Joel went over with the pump kick. Match 2, it was Lee Moriarty versus Ren Jones. That was a great match. But the ending to it, Lee Moriarty went over with the Border City Stretch. Match 3, it was Serena Deeb versus Viva Van. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Serena Deeb went over with the Detox. Match 4, it was Marina Shafir versus Amber Nova. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Marina Shafir went over with the Greedy. Match 5, it was Konosuke Takeshita versus Anthony Henry. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Konosuke Takeshita went over with the jumping knee strike. Match 6, it was Jonathan Gresham versus Jordan Oasis. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Jonathan Gresham went over because Jonathan Gresham repetitively slammed Jordan Oasis's knee to the mat, and the referee stopped the match. Match 7, it was Wheeler Yuta versus Bryce Donovan. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Wheeler Yuta went over with the bridging German suplex. Now after the match, Tony Schiavone interviewed Wheeler Yuta, and Tony Schiavone brought up about Wheeler Yuta defending the Ring of Honor Pure title at Death Before Dishonor against Daniel Garcia, and also brought up about Daniel Garcia calling Wheeler Yuta a Daniel Garcia cosplayer a week or so ago on AEW Dynamite, and Wheeler Yuta was talking about how Daniel Garcia calls himself a sports entertainer, but so pretty much a professional wrestler cosplayer, and talked about how the Blackpool Combat Club and the Jericho Appreciation Society is getting more heated than ever, and talked about how he was going to kick Daniel Garcia's ass at Death Before Dishonor and retain the Ring of Honor Pure title and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way. Match 8, it was Danhausen versus Jake Something. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Danhausen went over with a small package. Match 9, it was the Renegade Twins, which are Charlotte and Robin Renegade, versus Avery Bro and Valentina Rossi. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Renegade Twins went over because Charlotte Renegade pinned Avery Bro with a spinebuster neckbreaker combination from Charlotte and Robin Renegade. Now after the match, Tony Schiavone interviewed the Renegade Twins, which are Charlotte and Robin Renegade. Well, Tony well, Tony Schiavone brought up about the Renegade Twins, which are Charlotte and Robin Renegade, about how they've been doing the switcheroo in singles matches and tag team matches, and talked about how it was all bullshit and everything. And then Robin and Charlotte Renegade were denying Tony Schiavone's thoughts on it, and claiming Robin was claiming she was Charlotte, and Charlotte was claiming she was Robin, and Tony Schiavone wasn't buying into it and saying it was all baloney, and talking about how they weren't going to fool nobody and everything. And then Charlotte Renegade was talking about how the Renegade Twins were going to make a name for themselves in AEW, and they were going to dominate and everything. And then Robin and Charlotte Renegade celebrated and everything. That was cool. And that was after the match, by the way. Match 10, it was Mercedes Martinez versus J-Rod. That was a great match, but the ending... Wait a minute. Match 10, it was Mercedes Martinez versus J-Rod. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Mercedes Martinez went over with the Brass City Sleeper. Now, after the match, as Mercedes Martinez was celebrating her victory, Serena Deeb came out to the stage, and a stare down between Mercedes Martinez in the ring and Serena Deeb on the stage ensued, and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way. Match 11, it was the Varsity Blondes, which are Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, versus the Hughes brothers, which are Terrence and Terrell Hughes. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Varsity Blondes went over because Griff Garrison pinned Terrell Hughes with the rolling elbow. Match 12, it was QT Marshall versus Fuego del Sol. That was a great match, but the ending to it, QT Marshall went over with the Diamond Cutter. Match 13, it was Jay Lethal versus Logan Cruz. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Jay Lethal went over with the figure 4 leg lock. Now, before the match, as Logan Cruz was in the ring, Jay Lethal came out with a microphone and cut a promo talking about how Logan Cruz was his student, and how Logan Cruz respected him, unlike his teacher Samoa Joe did, and everything. And Jay Lethal continued to talk more shit about Samoa Joe and everything. That was cool. That was before the match, by the way. And after the match, Tony Schiavone interviewed Jay Lethal, and Tony Schiavone brought up about Jay Lethal going after Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor television title at Death Before Dishonor and everything. And then Jay Lethal was talking about how he was going to kick Samoa Joe's ass at Death Before Dishonor and take the Ring of Honor television title from him and everything. And then Tony Schiavone brought up about Christopher Daniels' comments about Jay Lethal on Rampage and everything. And then Jay Lethal was talking about how Christopher Daniels was a delusional idiot for being best friends with Samoa Joe and everything, and talked about how if Christopher Daniels don't keep his mouth shut, he's going to kick his ass too, and everything, then talked about how Samoa Joe wasn't going to walk out of Death Before Dishonor as the Ring of Honor Television Champion because he was going to take the Ring of Honor Television title from Samoa Joe and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way. And match 14, that was match match 13, by the way. And match 14, which was the main event, it was Daniel Garcia versus Alan Five Angels in a Ring of Honor Pure Rules match. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Daniel Garcia went over with the sleeper hold. Now, after the match, the referee signaled Daniel Garcia to do the Code of Honor. Well, Daniel Garcia went up to Alan Five Angels and sarcastically shook his hand, and then Daniel Garcia executed the sharpshooter on Alan Five Angels, and as that was going on, Wheeler Yuta came out to the ring, and Daniel Garcia retreated, and then Daniel Garcia tried to get a cheap shot in on Wheeler Yuta, but Wheeler Yuta turned around, Daniel Garcia got out of the ring, and then Wheeler Yuta attacked Daniel Garcia with a tope suicida, and then Wheeler Yuta got on top of Daniel Garcia and was beating the shit out of him and everything, and then Wheeler Yuta stood tall while Daniel Garcia was laid out and everything. That was cool. And that was match 14 and the main event, by the way. Now, besides the matches, Lexi Nair interviewed Fuego del Sol. Well, Lexi Nair brought up about Fuego del Sol having a match against QT Marshall later on, and talked about how this rivalry between Fuego del Sol and the Factory has been intense for a while and everything. And then Fuego del Sol was talking about how his rivalry with the Factory has been brewing for a while, and talked about how QT Marshall was a great athlete, but talked about how tonight on AEW Dark he was going to teach QT Marshall a lesson in respect, and talked about how he was going to kick QT Marshall's ass and everything as well. That was cool. Now, besides all that, Taz and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. The referees for the event were Mike Posey, Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, Stephon Smith, Aubrey Edwards. No, wait a minute. The referees for the event were Mike Posey, Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, Stephon Smith, and the black-haired woman, whatever her name is. Okay. The black-haired woman, whatever her name is, refereed the match between Jorah Joel versus Luke Sampson. Paul Turner refereed the match between Lee Moriarty versus Ren Jones. The black-haired woman, whatever her name is, refereed the match between Serena Deeb versus Viva Van. Stephon Smith refereed the match between Marina Shafir versus Amber Nova. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Konosuke Takeshita versus Anthony Henry. Rick Knox refereed the match between Jonathan Gresham versus Jordan Oasis. Mike Posey refereed the match between Wheeler Yuta versus Bryce Donovan. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Danhausen versus Jake Something. Stephon Smith refereed the match between the Renegade Twins versus Avery Bro and Valentina Rossi. Paul Turner refereed the match between Paul Turner refereed the match between Mercedes Martinez versus J-Rod. That was Paul Turner, by the way. Mike Posey refereed the match between the Varsity Blondes versus the Hughes Brothers. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between QT Marshall versus Fuego del Sol. The black-haired woman... Wait. That was Bryce Remsburg, by the way. The black-haired woman, whatever her name is, refereed the match between Jay Lethal versus Logan Cruz. And Mike Posey refereed the match between Daniel Garcia versus Alan Five Angels in a Ring of Honor Pure Rules match. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now, the match card that's been announced for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite's special event, Fyter Fest Week 2, that's been announced for tonight. It's going to be Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston in a barbed wire wait a minute. So the match card, and the match card that's been announced for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite's special event, Fyter Fest Week 2, that's been announced so far, it's going to be Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston in a barbed wire everywhere match. Christian Cage and Luchasaurus versus the Varsity Blondes, which are Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. The Blackpool Combat Club, which are John Moxley and Wheeler Yuta, versus the Best Friends, which are Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor. Darby Allin versus Brody King and Chris Statlander, Athena, and Willow Nightingale versus the Baddies, which are Jade Cargill, Kiera Hogan, and Layla Gray. So the match card that's been announced for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite special event, Fyter Fest Week 2, so far that's been announced. That's been announced. Looks like it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it. I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, I just want to come on here for a while and give my review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dark from last night, which was July 19th, 2022. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road. Peace out.